Welcome to the Firebase tutorial for how to add Google Play Games Auth to your Unity game. This tutorial will cover everything you need to do to get Firebase Auth working with the Google Play Games identity provider in Unity. We'll begin with how to get a working Android build, then we'll cover how to add Firebase to your game. After that, we'll cover how to add Google Play Games services to your game, and finally, we'll cover how to use the Firebase Play Games identity provider to authenticate your users to Firebase. This Firebase tutorial will pick up where the main menu tutorial left off, mostly because it's the easiest place to add a button. You can also use your own Unity game instead. To start, let's try to build an Android version of the game. Open the build settings and click on Android to highlight it. Now click Switch Platform. You'll notice that the Unity cube is now beside the Android platform, indicating this is the active platform. Now, if you were to click Build and select a name for your build and click Save, if you haven't set up your Android build, you'll get this error. It's because there's no Android package name set up yet, so let's set that up. In the Build Settings dialog, click on Player Settings. This will open Player Settings in the inspector in the main Unity window. Under Settings for Android, click on Other Settings to open the section if it isn't already open. There are a lot of settings, but for now we just need to set one of them. In the Identification section, we need to set the package name to something other than this invalid default. For this example, we will call the company My Company and the product Firebase Tutorial. If you're working on a real game instead of this tutorial, then you would of course put in your real company name and the name of your game instead. And we're going to need this package name for further setup, so just copy and paste it somewhere convenient. I'm going to use TextEdit. Now we can build again, and this time the build succeeds. But this build isn't signed, and if you want to use Firebase Auth, your build must be signed, even during development. So let's sign it. First, be sure you are building in release mode, and that means making sure that the development build checkbox is not checked. And then make sure that the player settings are still showing in the inspector, or click on them again. Close the other settings and open publishing settings. We need to create a new key store. Check the Create a New Key Store box, then click on Browse Key Store to select a name for the key store. I chose Release as the name for my key store since this is for a release build. I stored it in the top level Firebase tutorial folder, and you can name your key store whatever you want and store it wherever suits you. Just remember where you put it because we're going to need to find it again. Then click Save. You will now see the name of the key store beside the Browse Key Store button. Create a new password for your new key store and confirm it. Now click on the key alias and click on Create a New Key. This will open the Create a New Key dialog. Fill in the information. I called my key Release Key. You can name yours whatever you like. Then click Create Key. Make sure that the alias is the key you just created and the password is entered as well. Now when you build, your APK will be signed, and we will need the signing certificate fingerprint for later setup, and now is a good time to get it. So open a terminal and navigate to the directory containing your key store. Then use the key tool command as shown here, specifying the name of your key, in my case, Release Key, and the name of your key store, in my case, release.keystore, and then press Enter. You will be asked for the key store password. Enter it. And then you will see a record of the release key information, including a certificate fingerprints with MD5, SHA-1, and SHA-256 values. Copy the SHA-1 value and paste it somewhere convenient again. And we will need these values for future setup. And that completes section 1. So for section 2, we're going to be adding Firebase to Unity. So go to firebase.google.com. Here you can read a bit more about Firebase if you want. For now, click on Get Started to go to the Firebase console. Then click on Add Project to add a new Firebase project. Fill in the name of your project and choose a project ID. Finally, click Create Project. Firebase will create a project for you. Now you need to add an app to your project. Click on Add Firebase to your Android app. Here's where we need the information from before. Copy from your convenient location into the dialog. Then click Register App. Once your app is registered, you will want to download the Google Services JSON file. but ignore the rest of the instructions because they're for Android Studio and we're using Unity. Now click on Unity to open another page that has more information on Unity and also the SDK download. On this page, just click the Download the SDK button to get the SDK. And once it's finished downloading, you're done with this page and you can close it. Or, of course, you can leave it open to read more later if you like. So we already registered the app in step 1 and we got the config file and downloaded the SDK too, which are steps 2 and 3. So you're also done with this page and you can go ahead and close that too. So this is the page you will see after your app is registered. Now we need to move the Google Services.json file that we downloaded for step 2 and put it in your top level Unity project folder. Also unzip the Firebase Unity SDK you downloaded for step 3 by double clicking it. I put mine on my desktop for convenience. Now we need to import it into Unity. In Unity, pick Assets, Import Package, Custom Package. Find your unzipped Firebase Unity SDK folder and pick Firebase Auth.Unity package. Then click Open. Leave everything selected and click on Import. The Firebase Auth Unity package will be imported. The resolver should also run automatically. Now before you do anything else, it's important to note that the resolver can sometimes be a bit finicky, and it's very important to let it finish resolving before you try to do anything else in Unity, or it may fail and leave things in a weird state. And that's the end of section 2. Now let's move on to section 3, configuring Google Play Games Services. If you don't already have a Google Play developer account, you need to sign up and pay the registration fee before continuing to the next step. From the Google Play console, click on Game Services. Click on Add New Game. We already registered the game project in the Firebase console, so click on I already use Google APIs in my game. Then click on your game to select it. I should just note here, if you're using your own game and you can't see the Firebase console project, then the issue is often permissions. You must be an owner of the Firebase project before you can link it in Play Games. And if you are an owner and you still can't see it, it's possible that it's already linked to a different Play Games project, possibly by a different owner. A Firebase project may be linked to a maximum of 1 Play Games project. So hopefully that will help you. So once you've selected your game, also select the type of game. And since this is just a tutorial, I'll pick casual. It doesn't really matter. If you're writing a real game, you should of course pick the category that best describes your game. And click Continue. Now you've registered your game with Google Play. Scroll down, and you need to make sure that the Google Play Game Services and Google Play Game Management APIs are turned on for your API console project. If they're not already on, click on the Turn APIs Back On button, and after they're turned back on, it should look like this. So your projects are now linked, but you still need to add the app. Click on Linked Apps. Click on Android, and you'll need your package name again. Copy and paste it. Click on Save and Continue. Linking apps is actually linking the client IDs, and this is your Android client ID because it's an Android app. And you don't need this Android client ID for any other configuration. If you try to use it, you're going to get errors. So just click back to the list. Now, whenever you make a Firebase project, Google automatically creates a web client ID for it. And we will need this web client ID for further configuration later. Again, not the Android one. I can't stress that enough. Now, we're going to link the web client ID to Play Games as well. Click Link Another App. Then click on Web. Don't worry, we're not actually creating a web app. We just need to link the web client ID. And if this is for a tutorial only, then you can fill in some dummy URL here. But if it's for an app that you plan to publish, then it needs to be a real URL or it won't be able to publish it. So I'm not going to publish this tutorial game, so I'm just going to use a dummy URL. Then click on Save and Continue. Click on Show Apps and select. And this is the automatically created web client ID. This is the one that we want. Click it to select it. Then click Select. This is your web client ID. This is the one you'll need later for configuration. So let's go ahead and save that web client ID to the convenient location. And now we need to pay attention to the middle part of the ID highlighted in green. And this is the thing that we're going to be looking for to try to match it in the next step. Then click on the API console link so we can get the matching secret. This API console screen can be confusing if you're not familiar with it. It's very important to get the right information. So make sure that you're picking the item that says Web Client and that the middle part of the client ID on the right matches what you just saved to your convenient location. And click on it to see the client secret. So we already have the Web Client ID in our convenient location. Now copy the matching client secret and paste it there too. And go back to the Play Games console. Then click Continue to Next Step. We're not going to add an event in this tutorial, so just continue to the next step. But we are going to need to add an achievement though. Click Add Achievement. Fill in your achievement and then click Save. The reason we need to add an achievement is because otherwise we won't be able to see the Get Resources link, so click on Get Resources. Select all the XML and copy it and then click Done. Paste it into your convenient location. We will not be adding a leaderboard for this tutorial. Continue to the next step. If you want anyone to be able to test your app before it's published, they will need to be whitelisted here before they can use it, and forgetting to whitelist your testers is a common error. The auth will fail if they're not whitelisted. So click Add Testers. Add your testers, then click Add. Click Continue to Next Step, and that concludes the console setup of Play Games Services. Now we'll need to get the Unity Play Games Services plugin. It's on GitHub. Follow this link. Click on the Releases section. On the most recent release, click the zip file to download it. Once the download is complete, I put it on my desktop for simplicity again. Double-click to unzip it. Go back to Unity, click on Assets, Import Package, Custom Package. Navigate to the directory where you unzipped it, choose Current Build, and select the Google Play Games plugin Unity package. Click Open. Keep everything selected and click Import. Wait for everything to import. This will take a while. The resolver will also run automatically after a while, and you may get additional informational messages about obsolete files. You can delete them if you like. You may also get missing Android SDK packages. Wait for them to be installed too. So when the import is complete, you will see this dialog. Click OK, and wait for the package resolver to finish running again. If you don't, you will likely get weird build errors. Once the resolver is done running, you will see this dialog. Click OK. Now we can follow the instructions from the first dialog box. In Unity, click on Window, Google Play Games, Setup, Android Setup. Here's where we need some of the stuff we saved. Copy and paste it, and then click Setup. You should see the success dialog box, and then just click OK. Now you should be able to build successfully, and that concludes the Setting Up the Play Games Unity plugin section. Now we'll set up Firebase Auth to use Play Games. Go back to the Firebase console and choose your project. In the Authentication section, click Get Started. Then click Set Up Sign-In Method. Click Play Games. Click Enable, and fill in the web client ID and secret and click Save. You should now see the Play Games Auth provider enabled, and that concludes Section 5. Section 6 is the final section on how to put everything together. Signing a player into Firebase using the Play Games Auth provider is a 3-step process. Step 1, sign into Play Games and get a server auth code. Step 2, make a Play Games Auth credential from the server auth code. And Step 3, sign into Firebase with the Play Games Auth credential. Since this is a tutorial, we're going to use a button to kick off the sign-in procedure for simplicity. For real apps, you should silently sign in at the beginning of the game instead if you can, and only show the sign-in button if the silent sign-in fails. So, building on top of the creating a main menu tutorial I mentioned in Section 1, we're going to duplicate the Start button, move the duplicate above the original Start button, call it Sign In button, and change the text to be Sign In. The duplicate also has the same handlers as the original, so remove the old on-click handler. Also remove the load scene on-click script because we don't need that. In the inspector, click Add Component, then New Script. Call it Sign In on Click. Then click Create and Add. Move the script into your Scripts folder. Double-click it to open. Modify the script to look like this. There's a start function which initializes the Play Games configuration and activates it. Then there's a sign in with Play Games function, which initializes Firebase auth, signs into Play Games, it gets the server auth code, creates a credential from the server auth code, and finally signs into Firebase using the credential. So once your code looks like this, save it and go back to Unity. Click on plus to add an on-click. Drag the script into the None object space, then select Sign in on click, Sign in with Play Games. And now we can build it. And finally, we can test it. So open a terminal and navigate to the builds directory. Attach an Android device or emulator if it's not already attached. Install the APK, clear the log for simplicity, start the log and look for the debug messages we added. On the device, start the Firebase tutorial app and click on Sign In. And once the logs show user signed in successfully, you can quit. Congratulations, you're done. Hopefully this tutorial was helpful for you.